It's the Weekly Wrap with your host, broadcasting legend Bruce Wolf, and his trusty sidekick, comedian Tim Slagle. And now, without further ado, Bruce Wolf.
Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. And now my favorite part of the show, wherein Tim will reveal what's behind him. I'm going to see, I'm kind of a little hungry right now. Little Haitian barbecue right now, Tim? Is that what we're talking about? Or
oh my God, amazing! You got it. You got it.
You know, we are way too much.
You got it twice now.
I mean, that's like that's ridiculous because we're both so sick. Of course, we have to confess we've been doing this show since that plane landed in the Andes decades ago. So this is the same joke. Never gets old.
Did you see? Did you see? That reminds me. Did you see there was that blizzard up in the mountains in California, and all those trucks were stuck in Donner Pass.
Oh my! What a place.
And I would have loved to listen to the CB chatter that was going on between the trucks that were stuck in the what was that, 10-foot drifts.
Oh, gee whiz. Well, you know, at least it's warm in Haiti, right? I guess. Well, meanwhile, you know, we haven't been on it a little while there, but we're still picking up on the State of the Union. You know, in the immediate aftermath, it was like, oh man, Biden was able to use subjects and predicates, and he didn't pass out on the stage. You know, I thought anything short
didn't
of
start shaking hands with invisible people.
Right,
didn't start wandering around.
Right. I thought anything short of his face melting like the Nazi at the end of the Raiders of the Lost Ark was going to be considered a victory.
And they did. I mean, they were saying, "Oh, this is it. This is the end of it. This is the second. This is the next 4 years." Right.
Now, Keith Olbermann immediately went on Twitter after that, and he was absolutely ecstatic, and supposedly had read somewhere where there was like a 17-point bounce or something like that. And then I remember immediately reading the Washington Post, which is no right-wing rag, and they were trying to take a more sober look at this, that this is the kind of thing that happens with like all States of the Union messages, and you shouldn't really expect that great a bounce. Then, you know, you wait a few days and the polls show that Trump still has his lead or may have increased it. So it didn't seem to really help, even though, you know,
it was kind of like, you know, it's kind of like the Special Olympics is that everyone gets a trophy. Just the fact that he participated was all that was necessary.
No, so that now there is a sobering thought on our side, though. I saw this from, is it Mark Thiessen, who's on Fox? And yeah, you know, he's a rhino. I get it. But he said that there was a Fox News poll. Well, it wasn't so much a poll as that they analyzed Nikki Haley's vote total, which is something like 2.9 million. And I know a lot of it was Democrats crossing over, but that signifies too many, and Trump's going to lose. I haven't seen anything beyond that. I haven't seen anything, you know, anybody really talk about it that much, but because all the polls still show Trump leading, and it doesn't look like Biden got much more bounce from that or in his step after he was after the State of the Union. I don't know, but
it's too bad. It's too bad that they can't that the Democrats can't nominate Nikki Haley. Because apparently they've been voting for her for months now. They're very happy with her.
No, you know, and I took a much more benign view of what he said in there when he said Lincoln Riley as opposed to what's the name, Laken Riley. Well, that to me showed that he's up on college football, because Lincoln Riley is the big coach, formerly of Caleb Williams, I think, and you know, who could be the Bears' #1 pick. So that just showed that he, you know, he's still up on a lot of stuff there.
I didn't know the name wrong. I didn't know there was a Lincoln Riley. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, there you go. There you go. And of course, you know, our very own Chewy Garcia said that Biden's use of illegal was such an insult to him. I was wondering, Chewy, was his use of illegal worse than Rahm sitting on the Laquan tape and denying you the mayoralty? So here's the thing. Biden got the name wrong. And then, the MAGA numbnuts were focusing on that. But he called them illegals. That's the thing that's getting the liberals upset. And when he called them illegals, I mean, he's at least 3 iterations away from the latest euphemism, which is newcomers. So I think they got binders full of euphemisms, and they may as well have gone with wetbacks if they were going with illegals.
Not to mention the California term for them, which is new summers.
There
it's so funny. Imagine that. I mean, that's how far the left has strayed from the mainstream. That it's offensive to call a murderer illegal.
Oh, right. No. And Biden apologized for that later, of course. He apologized for calling him, for being accurate.
And then he actually went back and said, then denied that it was an apology. That it was actually just a retraction, not an apology.
Look, filibusters are designed to wear you down, and he's basically had like a 6 or 7 decade one. And okay, all right, I give up. Now, the fact that he mumbled quite a bit doesn't bother me, because my wife and I have used closed caption since we couldn't make out what Kiefer Sutherland was saying on 24, and that's a couple of decades ago. So, I mean, if you didn't have closed caption for the State of the Union, you should have used it, because you probably use it for everything else as well. Now, President Obama.
Did you watch the State of the Union with the closed captioning?
My wife wanted to watch it. In fairness to Biden, I don't like to watch any of the States of the Union. I mean, it's so boring.
Yeah, no, I haven't watched them for years. It's just talking point, applause, talking point, applause, right. Talking point, applause. It just no.
Now Tucker Carlson said he was going to go on, and did so immediately after with a post-game analysis. Tucker Schmucker, Dan Proft and I on when we were in WLS, we used to do a dinner. We did this at 2, maybe 3 times. The State of the Union. There was an actual dinner with people, at some restaurant, and we'd show the State of the Union. And I did what I like to call a mystery political science theater. We would just ad lib as the speech was being made. And remember, that's Obama who's talking. He wasn't grist for sarcasm quite the way that Biden would be. Although,
I did that at Zanies for the 2016 debates. We did the same thing.
Okay.
We actually had a panel of mystery science critiques. Right. I heard Trump did it on Truth Social too. That he apparently you started a trend that.
So
here's why I'm wondering if it was closed caption, because I'm wondering if the closed captioner gave him the benefit of the doubt and typed it incorrectly.
Well, I'm sure the closed caption was just going along with the script. Of course, they wouldn't have been able to.
Right, but the Lake and Riley was off script.
No, that was and I give him credit. I mean, he was able. It was almost like Marjorie Taylor Greene was a plant, because that was a slam dunk for him. Of course, he screwed it up on 2 counts, but it's still
I noticed something that probably no one else did for a while there. Because I like to watch TV with the closed captioning on and the music playing in the background and read stuff. And I noticed that Fox News, that the closed captioner there, every time she typed Fox, I'm guessing it was a she. I'm guessing that's a pronoun. Just a guess there. Every time she typed Fox News, it would be FAUX.
Okay.
And I'm wondering how long she got. Oh no, no, someone who actually does that. I mean, come on.
Yeah, no, but I give her credit. And it was a she, I'm sure.
And I wonder how long she got away with it before somebody said, "Have you looked at the closed captioning?"
Yeah, that's kind of funny. So anyway, then there was the rebuttal by this Katie Britt, the Alabama senator, and I mean, I could bear to watch only like about 20 seconds of it, because I saw on Twitter people were talking about, oh, you won't believe this, and I said, and I didn't. I thought Marco Rubio should have walked right out and poured water on her scenery chewing right then and there. I saw that John Cass printed somewhere that all the liberals don't like this, and the knee-jerk conservative reaction was, well, I like it, but I mean,
well,
go ahead, tell me what you think.
The ultimate critique of that speech is that first thing in the morning, Rona McDaniel handed in her resignation.
Okay.
So, I mean, whose idea was it to put her on? Probably hers.
Yeah, I mean,
it was like, I'm so sorry, everybody.
No.
I quit. That's it.
I was so upset over it because, first of all, Saturday Night Live had Scarlett Johansson do a takeoff on her, and she looked exactly like her.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I think Scarlett underplayed it a little bit. She sounded more just like a Valley girl doing it, and didn't go for those deep emotional moments like Katie Britt did, because I don't think she could have done any more than Katie Britt did. And I was really upset about this because, we look so freaking stupid when we put somebody on like that. However, I felt a little bit better later on because somebody tweeted, look at all the, everybody knew that they were going to use that in the cold open. And how many female actresses and comedians are there on Saturday Night Live who would have died to do that? And, wouldn't have been that difficult. You put the wig on, the green dress, and the cross,
sure.
and you do it. And instead, Colin Just, who's the honcho there, has his wife do it. So I'm thinking, all right, there's the left using the patriarchy to get her to step ahead of everybody on Saturday Night Live, the regulars. So I felt a little bit better because actually, at least Katie Britt is a female who got elected by the populace of the state of Alabama. And Saturday Night Live relies on the Good Old Boy Network. That's all I could salvage out of that whole thing, unfortunately, though.
I didn't even know who Colin Jost was.
There you go.
Much less that he was married to Scarlett Johansson. So
well, that lucky dog. I think he wrote a book called A Face You Could Punch, which is about himself, which at least that's self-deprecating. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap.
You've endorsed Donald Trump for president. Judges and 2 separate juries have found him liable for rape. How do you square your endorsement of Donald Trump with the testimony we just saw?
I was raped at the age of 16, and I'm not going to sit here on your show and be asked a question meant to shame me about another potential rape victim.
It's actually not about shaming you. It's a question about Donald
No, you are
Trump.
shaming me.
Women won't come forward because they're defamed by those who perpetrate rape.
They are judged and they're shamed.
What you're doing is defending a man who's been found liable for rape. I don't understand how you can do that.
Not in a criminal court of law. This was a civil judgment over sexual abuse.
Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. And,
I thought she went easy on him.
Yeah, here's the thing. Yeah, I thought she was reserved. I agree with you. And the thing is,
she could have said, hey, weren't you the spokesperson for a rapist?
A credibly accused rapist named Bill Clinton. How about if she had done this? Well, George, you worked for the rapist Bill Clinton. Do you think the evidence against Clinton was stronger than the evidence against Trump? Because Andy McCarthy, National Review, Fox News, no fan of Trump. He's the former federal prosecutor, took out the blind sheikh, the first World Trade Center bombing. He was in favor of impeachment of Trump, so he's no big fan. He actually paid close attention to the Carroll trial and concluded that the evidence against Trump was underwhelming. Would you agree with that, George Stephanopoulos? Because I'm sure George, in between tossing it to Michael Strahan and Ginger Z on the morning show, wasn't really paying attention to the Carroll trial. So yeah, the answer to that was, well, I don't think he did it. And if you're going to say, yeah, a New York jury did that, well, George, did you believe the L.A. jury when O.J. Simpson was found not guilty? So, we don't always trust.
And that was a criminal. That was a criminal trial.
Oh, yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
That was criminal, not just a civil trial. The point I keep bringing up is that Donald Trump has as much chance, like in New York and D.C., as a black man in Jim Crow, Arkansas.
There we go. There we go. So
of getting a fair jury.
yeah. So let's speaking of unfair audiences, let's take a look at. I love this picture of Kamala in the helicopter. She's got the chopper headphones on.
Sure.
And, you wonder if she's going to parachute out and deliver humanitarian aid to the Gazans after she stops looking at that blank sheet of paper in front of her. My fingers would be crossed if the parachute's open, because, at least 5 Gazans were killed by our food packets that
well,
fell.
I'm sure the pilot was thinking, what a golden opportunity, a commie in a helicopter.
I was wondering if the pilot was Michael Dukakis in a pith helmet. So yeah,
it's funny. If you look what she says, I've traveled 13 states in 2024 and my message has been clear. Really? Really? When has her message ever been clear?
I mean, it's always gobbledygook.
What has been combined with what could be, we will find.
It's all filling out the blue book in your final exam in college, when you have no idea what the answer is and you're just trying to string a bunch of words together.
Yeah, back before you could increase the font size.
Oh, totally.
In those days. And what I find funny is that they did it in a helicopter, so even if she tried to talk, you couldn't hear her.
Right. And it is funny that, you see, just in case you didn't think it's a real like, Kamala, could you move a little bit so we could see that emergency exit sign that you're right next to it? So boy, the lengths that they go to. So here's a problem. The Pope spoke about Ukraine, and he's calling for an end to the war right now. Somehow saying, somebody said, yeah, you've got to have courage to surrender, I imagine. Oh, he said, yeah, Ukraine must have the courage to raise the white flag and to negotiate. Yeah, the courage to surrender is what it comes down to. Here's the problem for the new right, because the new right would side with the Pope about let's tank on Ukraine. But of course, the new right cannot stand the Pope's positions on cultural issues. He's this close to recognizing same-sex marriage. So what are you to do about the Pope with regard to, do you accept him? He's infallible on this, but not on that. I don't know.
I have no idea.
You're going to recuse yourself from that?
I'm going to recuse myself. Yeah. I've never put much weight on the Pope's opinion.
Right.
I mean, we're not that part. We're North America, not South America. We don't really.
You're a little bit, but like the Illinois Supreme Court, several of the justices in the Illinois Supreme Court recused themselves in the matter of the law license of Ed Burke, who was convicted of racketeering a few months ago. Federal court convicted him of a number of sleazy things, but he still has his law license because he was so connected to everybody. Yeah. His wife used to be on the Supreme Court, and she just retired a few years ago.
The Illinois Supreme Court is elected, right?
Yeah, but everybody.
Okay, well, there you go. There you go.
Everybody was too connected to Ed Burke. They had to recuse themselves, so they couldn't decide on that.
Exactly.
And so he still gets to keep his law license. I mean, and that's Illinois.
But isn't that supposed to be the Bar Association making that decision, not the Supreme Court?
No.
How does the Supreme Court have a?
It was the Attorney Registration Disciplinary Commission. It's ARDC. I'm not really sure how that works. I should.
He could be disbarred, though, right? He might be able to keep his license, but he could be disbarred.
What's the difference between being disbarred and keeping your license?
Well, the license is a state issue, and then being disbarred, I'm guessing, is just the Bar Association.
But I don't know. Here I am, an attorney, and I think
you could be a disbarred attorney with a law license. You just can't practice.
That is interesting lawyering that you're doing right there. I didn't make the distinction myself, but as far as since he's not going to practice for a while anyway, Yeah. So send all your cases to Verdoliak, not to Ed Burke. Anyway, did you see this thing? The standard, the picture of VJ Day, where, you know, the soldier is so glad to
Sure.
be back, and he's in Times
Yeah.
Square, and he
Just grabs
grabs
a woman.
and arches her back and gives her a big kiss. And they were not actually people who knew each other, but boy, you know, World War II was over. He comes back, gives a kiss. Well, there's some muckety muck, some bureaucrat. Yeah, there she is.
Yeah, apparently it was not consensual. She said later that no, he just grabbed me.
He just grabbed
me.
her. So this undersecretary of the VA said we're not going to use that picture anymore because it was not consensual from 1945. But then she was later overruled about that.
Well, it's kind of, you know, it's kind of a little too late. I don't think either of those people are still alive.
Well, you know, I don't think the statute of limitations ever runs on sexual assault like that.
Yeah, but you can't be convicted if you're dead. I mean, the Pope does not run the country. I mean, the Pope used to do that. They used to dig people up and convict them. But I don't think
any man who just explained to me the difference between having a law license and being able to practice law should be able to determine for me whether somehow the heirs are allowed to sue. Now, I thought the big problem, of course, was that if what she had said held, that the chorus in South Pacific would no longer be forced to sing the heteronormative "There Ain't Nothing Like a Dame." So that's. But the picture came back. So,
but what that picture does is just captures the moment of how everyone felt on VJ Day. Whether or not, you know, it's not really. It's an icon more than it represents an actual act, and that attitude was overwhelming. I have a really good friend, and he found out that his dad knocked up 2 women on VJ Day.
Was that
he got an ancestry.
Was that a record that day?
I don't know. But he got an ancestry.com. He got an ancestry.com a check on his daughter, and they found he had a brother, half brother he did not know about, that was pretty much, it was born almost the same day as his oldest brother. So
I wonder how many births there were after 9 months to the day, like there were 9 months, I believe, after the Cubs won the division title in 84. This guy who follows me on Twitter all the time, Robbins is his name. He said, "Hey, it could have been worse, if he had touched her the wrong place, and we'd call it VJJ Day." But that's what I do to my Twitter followers. I corrupt them. So yeah.
Did you see that? Did you see that story about the Saudi Arabian human artificial intelligence robot that they unveiled?
No.
And the first thing it did was grab a woman's breast.
Well, then was there another Saudi Arabian who came off an AI and chopped off his hands?
Well, no, you don't. No, you stone the woman. You don't. It's not
right.
The guy,
it's her
not the
fault
guy. It's not the robot's fault
for seducing.
Exactly.
Him.
Exactly.
Yeah. And finally, the New York subways. What are they using? The National Guard right now. If you bring, I'm thinking that now that they brought the guard in there, that turnstile jumping is really out of the question now. Are we going to go the old Rudy?
That's
Rudy
okay.
Route?
No, that's okay. Just like the border, if you jump the border, that's
it's
fine.
fine.
That's fine. Yeah, we're not there. We're only there to stop the murder.
No, right. Well, let's frisk old ladies as they come through.
What happened to the Guardian Angels? Are they over?
Well, I was saying this is Curtis Lewa Memorial National Guard unit, but all right.
The National Guardian Angels.
Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap.
Right now, we stand here as men who refute their Jewishness and the Holocaust being hijacked by an occupation which has led to conflict for so many innocent people. Whether the victims of October the 7th in Israel or the ongoing attack on Gaza, all the victims of this dehumanization. How do we resist? Alexandra Bistron Kaladziejczak, the girl who glows in the film as she did in life, chose to. I dedicate this to her memory and her resistance. Thank you.
Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the weekly wrap. So neither one of us watched the State of the Union. Tim, did you watch the Oscars?
No, I didn't.
Yeah,
care
okay,
for,
that's two.
I don't care for that
us.
either.
Yeah, I don't think I have any standing to watch the Oscars because when the Oscars came on, I had not seen any of the movies this year. I did subsequently watch Oppenheimer this week, and we'll get to that for a second. But so there's this Jonathan Glazer. So what else is new? A self-loathing Jew. I mean, it almost comes with the DNA. Let me tell you. So
what did he? Who is he? What did he won an award?
So he won Best International Movie, and it's this movie called The Zone of Interest, which is about a commandant who was like in charge at Auschwitz, and he's got his housing, like off the premises, of course, with his family.
Oh, okay,
You could hear the screaming of the victims, but you never really see any of them. And of course, that's a metaphor, as other people have said. I think John Podhoretz was one of them. People like to hear Jews screaming in pain in the background, and people love they don't. Well, no, it depends. You know what I'm talking about. Well, look, the world loves a dead Jew. Oh yeah, it's so bad. Let's build a Holocaust museum. But as soon as you get up on your feet and you say hell no, and you can't come in here and murder and rape, and we're gonna smash you to smithereens, and not because of vengeance, although it'll feel good somewhat, pardon me, but because we don't want you to do it again. We got to do it. And of course, that's so, but it's just, this guy, it's not surprising. It's not surprising that, this guy would do this. So he would, he would side with, he claims the Jews are the Nazis now. That's the latest thing. The Jews are the oppressors. We're the oppressor state. I think, to mention another guy from commentary, Abe Greenwald said, with these people like Greta Thunberg, who, she used to be all about saving the whales, and now all of a sudden she sided with the Palestinians on this. No surprise, because it's all a front. It's never really about the cause they're talking about. It's basically they're people who don't like Western civilization. They want to get rid of it. It's bad.
Greta Thunberg. I mean, she hates humanity. I mean, that whole global warming environmental thing. They believe that if they could put humans back into the food chain, that we would be paradise again. That's their ultimate mission.
Well, I mean, I think, that's, the Venn diagram of that and hating Western civilization, I think,
sure.
I think, all of humanity, I mean, that swallows up.
Western civilization took us out of the Stone Age. I mean,
exactly.
This whole continent was Stone Age before Western civilization.
So there
came
you
here.
go. So while we're at it, so did you see Oppenheimer? I think you did, didn't you?
I did. I watched it. I watched it right before the Oscars.
And
I thought it was great.
Yeah. So
really enjoyed it. It's would have liked more explosions, but
yeah,
still
me too.
good.
Me too. Oh, you mean we're not going to get to Edward Teller and the H-bomb? Okay, or at least Nagasaki. We didn't even get Hiroshima. I don't. Spoiler alert. You don't get to actually see Hiroshima and Nagasaki, but you.
Yeah, I know. I wanted the bomber. I wanted to see the bomber. I wanted to see the
Fat Boy and Little Boy or whatever.
Oh man, I wanted to see the doors open. I wanted to hear the whistling.
I mean,
absolutely.
So we're halfway through Oppenheimer, and it was all good.
That's where we stopped. That's where we stopped it to take a bathroom break.
Well, we stopped and took a day break for it.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And, I loved recognizing the big names. Oh, yeah, Edward Teller. Oh, yeah, I know him. Einstein, recognized him from a distance. I mean, it was great. And then, of course, Niels Bohr of New York Times crossword puzzle answer fame, always BOHR all the time. But here's the thing that bothered me at this point, because it was, pretty heavy, and of course, it's very serious when it's filmed, a lot of it in black and white. A film is serious when it goes from black and white to color. Well, Wizard of Oz was the exception, but that but most of these films when they do that,
Christopher Nolan likes it. You ever watched Memento?
Oh yeah, I remember that. I didn't realize that was a Christopher Nolan film. Yeah, I saw that in the movie theater. But here's the thing, with a little levity of hurt, amid Teller and Einstein and Bohr, maybe a little Sheldon Cooper and Leonard and Penny from The Big Bang Theory. Because I was a physics for poets guy in college.
Sure.
And that, I remember I did a biography of Johannes Kepler, but boy, I didn't understand, very much of what he was talking about. And to Nolan's credit, I mean, he doesn't get really deep into the explanations because who is going to understand that? What we do understand is a guy who wants to poison his teacher with by injecting an apple. We all can get that. But here's
Killian, I think he learned how to do an American accent by watching Robin Williams films.
Are you serious? Have you seen Peaky Blinders? Have you seen Peaky Blinders?
Oh yeah.
That was great. But isn't that funny? See,
because if you listen to his voice, it sounds very, very Robin Williams. It just, I honestly think that's how he got. That's where he picked up
probably
learned the American accent.
The little riff he did when he was talking about the stars and said, "And there's Orc, nanu." It just, he got a little Robin Williams-y, a little too much. So, here's the thing. So it's all good. I mean, I love the suspense with the building up to the atomic bomb test. I mean, it was, with the guy's hand shaking in front of that big red button there, I was half expecting Red Buttons to come out and say, "I never had a test." So here's the thing. So he
well, yeah, but we all knew the end. I mean, that was kind of was kind of like it's amazing they could put such tension into something that we all know the ending.
Did Matt Damon have to gain weight for that role, or did they stuff him with some, plastic fat or something? Because
I think if he actually gained weight, they would have given him an Oscar. Because that's one sure way to win an Oscar is gaining weight for a role. Because people in the Academy can't imagine the amount of sacrifice that takes.
Yeah. So all right, here's the problem. So the suspense up to the A-bomb test, it's great. And then it turns out it's just a ton of Hollywood BS, because Oppenheimer really was a communist. He lied about it, and he would have been susceptible to blackmail by the commies had he actually been given that Atomic Energy Commission security clearance. But, I love a good movie. I want to believe Dorothy actually went to Oz. But he was lying. They were actually right to deny him the security clearance. That would have been a big problem. But they got to turn it into, and everybody would look. Maybe Joseph McCarthy wouldn't have understood it, but nobody's pro McCarthy. Everybody would have understood the youthful indiscretion in being a member of the Communist Party, because he kind of went back on that later. But I think
we all kind of were communists when we were kids.
Who isn't a communist before the age of 9?
Yeah. Exactly.
So
socialism works so well in the House. Why wouldn't it work in the as a national policy?
So that was a little bit troublesome there, but it was a fun movie. So Joe Biden, Robert Hur appeared before Congress, I guess, and he held his own as far as I'm concerned, but the Democrats spun it that, oh my goodness, why would, remember Biden said, they brought up Beau Biden, what are you doing there? Jill Biden said that. But if you look at the transcript, as many have done, it's Joe who brought up Beau Biden, and now he's claiming that Hur brought him up. And if you look at the transcript, I mean, Biden is lost. He doesn't remember. Look, everybody knows that presidential elections are in even years, even if you can't remember, it's leap year all the time, but every presidential election is in an even year. We all know that. He actually said 2017 was the election. Well, you just can't say that.
Well, that's when he took office, though. That's
right. He'll always have.
So there's the room for mistake.
Except he said the election. but okay.
No, I
He's
know.
thinking one thing and saying the other. But it was
Well. Technically, doesn't the Electoral College meet in the following year?
I'll tell you, you're lawyering me throughout the show today.
My favorite clip was the Jayapal a clip where she said, "Okay, Mr. Herr, we know that you exonerated Joe Biden." No, I did not. Excuse me, sir. This is my question.
Right, he did not exonerate Joe Biden.
No, absolutely not.
It's unbelievable. So, Chris put this in here, and I got to take a look. It says Ben Shapiro is an idiot, and I wouldn't say that Ben Shapiro is an idiot. I kind of wish I were Ben Shapiro. I kind of am like Ben Shapiro. We're both Jewish White Sox fans.
I got in a fight years back with Ben Shapiro.
Did you really?
It was published. Yeah, it was published in Breitbart.com.
Oh, what happened?
I think it's still there. He came out with this rap is crap kind of position, and I went, "How are we going to bring anyone over to conservatism when you sound like my dad?"
And he's like, he could be your kid. Because he's not even 40
That's the
yet.
funny part. That's the funny part. And he comes back and says, no, I'm a classically trained musician and blah, blah, blah.
Right,
it's like, okay, fine. You know what? That's exactly what my dad said about the Beatles. That's exactly what his dad said about Glenn Miller. It's come on.
Speaking of that, well, that's great. I'm glad you had that. Do we have the picture of the Beatles overlooking the balcony? It's a great shot. It's a Twitter shot, and it's the caption is you're supposed to write a caption. Why did the Beatles toss you over a balcony? Because it's from the view from the ground up, and it's like you've been tossed over.
So that's the one that was on their greatest hits album, where they did the same photo like 5 years apart.
All I could say is, I would have been saying, okay, I really thought Revolution number 9 was good, but Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle, there it is on the weekly wrap.
Lots in the State of the Union after 6 o'clock, and some disturbing things as normal, and Marjorie Taylor Greene should be taken out and shot in the field. What? Did I say that out loud?
Oh, she was just out of control. She was unleashed.
I'm just insane. The whole thing is insane.
Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the weekly wrap. So, for those of you who don't know, WLS used to be a radio station in Chicago, and but I think it still sends out signals from some dead star. And if you watched Oppenheimer, you know that gravity just sucks in everything, and then the star becomes a black hole or something. And that's what WLS unfortunately is right now. And Steve Cochran is the morning custodian there,
formerly of WGN.
Right, and formerly of everything else too. Steve and I, have crossed paths many times over the years. But apparently, he said that Marjorie Taylor Greene should be shot, taken out in the field and shot. And so then the Morning Answer, which is the WIND AM 560 station, the opposite of Steve Cochran, they tweeted, yes, WLS AM 890 and Cumulus Media morning host Cochran did suggest this morning that he thinks Marjorie Taylor Greene should be taken out in a field and shot. This is the Chicago affiliate for Dan Bongino, Chris Plant, and the Mark Levin show. And I was just wondering, you normally don't take a shot at a competitor like that on Twitter. And I was actually shocked by that.
So you're shocked. You're shocked by Dan's response to that horrible comment.
Now, here's the thing. I don't think Dan actually writes the tweets for the morning show. I think that's probably beneath him to do that. I think they have like the late Chicago Ed Schwartz who writes these tweets posthumously. So, but it was interesting that happened. Yeah, just as an aside here, this week I actually I was on Twitter and Dan Bongino had said something and somebody had criticized it, and I said that Dan Bongino once had sicked his Twitter posse on me because I had said that Trump, it's okay to be for Trump, but you don't have to suck up to him. And then I got all these tweets from his posse. And I mentioned that to this guy on Twitter. And no sooner.
No, wait. It was Bongino's posse. So I mean, so Bongino would have had to have, or was it just people who also followed
he saw my tweet because I had addressed him. This is, I mean, this is a couple of years ago. This time I didn't even address him. He saw it and he got on me again for mentioning that just this week. And there were people, so, you know, and then of course he looks at my Twitter profile and which says Chicago media legend, which is a fact, Sure. And he puts out like 14 smiling, you know, till you're crying emojis after that, as if I'm not a Chicago media legend. But I ask you, I mean, Tim, you have heard of me.
Sure.
Whereas you have never heard of what were we just talking about before that you hadn't heard of? I had
never heard of Colin Jost.
Colin
Jost.
And somebody else locally you had just mentioned. I believe, but
well, it's also we have in the rundown. We also have a rap star that was bumped from the House of Blues. His show was bumped from the House of Blues.
Well, that's actually a Jewish rap star.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of him either.
Okay, well, and the reason you haven't is because the Jews are so fearful of appearing in public now that you're not going to hear them. They can only appear anonymously.
Had you heard of him before?
Yeah, I have heard of him, but you know,
how do you pronounce that?
Mahisyahu.
Mahisyahu. It's not Japanese. He's an Hasidic Jew.
Well, I mean, it might be a fusion. You know, it might be Japanese Jewish food.
No, I had to actually look it up during the break.
Because I think Japanese Jewish food.
It comes from the Book of Maccabees.
Yeah, no.
The name
Japanese Jewish food. Let me see. It's teppanyaki, but you get to complain about it all the time. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. So, in any event, radio stations should not fight with each other. Give publicity to the other guy.
No, you're supposed to fight inside, dude. It's supposed to be all done in house. That's the way it works. The morning guy is supposed to attack the afternoon guy.
Right. That's actually the kosher way. So, the Chicago Bears, who can't get Arlington Heights to agree to lower taxes so they can build there, getting a little leverage right now. They've unveiled plans for a new stadium on the lakefront. And immediately, you know, the usual groups like the Friends of Ugly Architecture were decrying plans to tear down Soldier Field and build another place that would actually look pretty good on the lakefront.
Yeah, they already ruined it. I mean, it's Soldier Field looks horrible now.
I got to tell you though, compared with the old Soldier Field or the old Soldier Field, at least when you're inside it, you can actually see the football game.
Yeah.
When you would go to the old Soldier Field or the old Soldier Field, and if you sat in the end zone low and you were freezing because it was 10 degrees out, you would pretend that you could actually see Walter Payton go. You couldn't tell if he traveled 1 foot or traveled 30 yards if he was at the other end of the field. Your depth perception was impossible.
Does anybody at a game even watch the game anymore? I go to a game and everybody's focused on the Jumbotron. It's
right.
It's pretty much you go to the game, so you're there in the proximity where it occurs, but you're still watching it on TV.
Right. I mean, and they shouldn't allow that. And I'm sure people use their phones all the time. And you may as well have closed caption right on the field. I remember there was an old New Yorker cartoon where there is it's an art class and there's a nude model, you know, up at the front of the class, and all the student artists are sitting at their desks and they're all looking at monitors of the of the model and not looking at the model directly. Speaking of which, you know, let's get a little heavy here in the last couple of minutes we have. So you know that, you know, Congress, interestingly, the House was almost virtually unanimous in wanting to make the owners of TikTok divest themselves of the company because we don't want the Chinese government, you know, having that much access to all our data. But
sure, it's essentially it's not just the data; it's the phones. They essentially have 133 million bugs planted around the United States.
Right. But it's also it's not just a security risk, it's a cultural risk. Phones in general are, because there's, a lot of, we've been talking about this for years, and I think there's a new book coming out about this, that, I mean, kids, especially who've known nothing else in their lives, are anxious, depressed, don't know how to socialize. So it's really a bad thing. And so we were talking about, people looking at jumbotrons, or in art classes looking at monitors. I mean, it's this distance. It's not being able to relate to people. And
I just saw last night on ABC,
problem.
they were talking about TikTok in China, and TikTok in China is all science projects and history.
They're no nonsense.
They figured out a way of keeping kids off the phone. Just make it we make boring.
Stupid Yankee dog will, give them breaded circuses. Oh,
give them half naked girls dancing and
right. Oh, they've already won the war.
Tide pod eating.
We'll just topple over, at the end. We'll just disintegrate in front of them within a generation or two. No such worry. Yeah.
I think it's too little, too late. I mean, I think there was a legitimate reason for banning TikTok, back when Trump wanted to do it. But I mean, come on, even if Americans bought it, are you telling me that they don't have Chinese agents stationed ready to open the gate into the Chinese government if there's ever any information that needs to be passed on?
I know what your next step is, in that don't take it, NatCon. You're going to be calling for Chinese internment camps. I know that. And it's not going to happen.
No. Where would you eat on Christmas, Bruce?
Exactly. Although now, with DoorDash and everything else, you don't even have to go to the Chinese. At least we had to go to the Chinese restaurant, get out of the house on Christmas because we didn't have a savior. Now you can probably just order it in, but it's still, and who says it? You probably have some AI make the food, and you wouldn't have to worry about that. Yeah, but you're right.
I have a friend who's Chinese, and he tells me they don't run Chinese restaurants anymore. It's they're all doctors and dentists now. It's
why would why
Chinese food's all point. It's all it's your Chinese food on a Christmas, Bruce, is being cooked by Jesus.
Yeah. That's the Jews come to Jesus moment, President. Not telling a Netanyahu to lay down the arms. It's having Jesus cook for us. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap.
And that's the Weekly Wrap on radio and television. Follow Bruce at Bruce Wolf Shy on Twitter and Tim at timslagle.com. The Weekly Wrap with Bruce Wolf, a CP Pods production.